ready for another lesson?
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Back Row Banter, your favorite casual movie talk podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Adam Schwartz, and on this week's episode, we'll be talking about the movie Civil War. Not Captain America Civil War, but Civil War. Although I guess they could take place in the same universe, if you think about it, maybe. Who knows? But of course, before we get to any of that, I'm joined today by Nikon Nathaniel Gingrich.
What up, folks? I'm Nikon Nathaniel, my camera of choice when documenting all war crimes.
Yeah,
you know.
Old reliable Nikon.
Yeah, the Japanese Nikon. You know, they make excellent cameras.
Not very popular in the States these days.
Well, it's just because people don't know, you know.
Sony's
or maybe they do know.
No, it's you know, Nikon's, few people know this, but Nikon's will survive a civil war. It is guaranteed.
Guarantee. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What happens if they don't?
You get a new one.
Yeah, just ship you to it, man, right? Yeah.
Cool.
Right.
You just
That's
message
nice.
the company by carrier pigeon, and they send you a new one by airdrop.
The Apple kind?
No. Physical airdrop.
Oh, okay.
It's a blimp that goes overhead. And
Like an Amazon drone.
No. This is much more accurate. What it is again, it's a blimp that goes over, and a guy ties a rock to your item and then just throws it out the window with a parachute.
That's more accurate than an Amazon drone?
Yeah, you know, do you want to trust a drone that's probably being flown by some guy, you know, being paid 30 cents an hour who hates you? Or do you want a man throwing a rock at your house? Because to me, it's a pretty equal option.
True.
Well, it wasn't about equal options. It was about which is more accurate. And I'd certainly trust the drone, which, let's be honest, Jeff Bezos doesn't want to pay someone 30 cents an hour to fly. So that thing's
You're right.
automated
It actually-
for sure.
it already knows your house because you gave it your Roomba layout or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. It's like the device in Dark Knight when he's got all the cell phones that are pinging frequencies and he's got like that flashing vision on the screen. That's what I imagine the drone to see.
You're going to be working with 2024 or whatever Hunger Games technology, and I'm going to be using the Ballad of Song and Snakes one where they're just pinging around all over the place and cracking dudes across the head.
Those water bottles are dangerous, dude.
That's
Those
right,
incoming,
That
dude.
was
Incoming.
the dumbest part of that movie. Was it? No.
That was kind of dumb.
There was a lot of other dumb parts in that movie. But anyways, let's talk about other movies. And who else is joining us here?
Of course, we also
panel.
have Kevlar Tyler Verdalis.
What's going on?
You do own a lot of Kevlar in your wardrobe?
I'm not gonna say.
Any Kevlar suits from like John Wick?
Not gonna say.
Would you if there was a civil war?
Have body armor?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not gonna say.
Okay. Fair enough.
You take a shot
I
at
know-
the king. You better not miss.
I like
See, I know Tyler would retreat to his Southern Illinois cabin, but he keeps it under wraps as to the location. I think for that very reason.
There are multiple reasons, but I'm not gonna talk about it.
Do you think the "you come at the king, you best not miss" will be one of those phrases that like people just like misquote to or like misattribute to like something else other than The Wire in the years of like that, you know, that was like Shakespeare or something. Like I could see it, you know, being
Hey
one
man,
of
my
those.
boss said he made that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's a chance. People are dumb.
This
Facts.
is true. I'm gonna.
I mean, I
think-
didn't know that was from The Wire. I've heard it, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that from the scene? I remember I've seen like maybe 15 minutes of The Wire, and I remember there's one scene that I watched where the guy is teaching to younger kids how to play chess, and he's talking about how and he's talking about right, and he's talking about like how the chess pieces are equivalent to the people like the gang rankings basically, or whatever it is. Is that the same scene, or is that like just a reference later on?
That's a reference later on because what Tyler quoted is from Omar. And I can't think of who he's talking to. Is he talking to? He's talking to the police.
It's either the police.
I don't remember.
Or it's like one of the, or it might be like Prop Joe.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Might be an intermediary for one of the other gangs. But yeah.
One day I'll get around to that show.
It's that, and the other one that I was thinking of was Shorty's a cop.
Oh yeah, that's all time top 5 meme for sure.
Yeah. It's always great when you see it out of when it's out of context, and then when you finally get to see it in context too. Yeah, it's great because it is a great mic drop moment too. Like it makes sense within the series. Anyways, we're off track early. Talk about
rounding out the squadron, of course, is big Bullet BlakeHolder.
Hey, what up? What up?
I couldn't figure out if we'd used Bullet before. I don't know if I have.
We used it for Bullet Train. I mean, just think about it.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. Good call.
Could have been Bullet Train or any of the John Wicks.
The heavy metal song "Bullet" with my name on it.
I think I did Body Armor for one of the John Wicks. I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know what the other ones would have been.
If Wanted was on the list, that could have been.
Curving Bullets.
Yeah. I don't know if I really want Wanted on the list.
The magic.
After you guys showed me Crank, I'm not really trusting y'all on Wanted.
I'm so excited for when we get Crank 2 on here.
Oh, are you? I'm gonna be MIA that week.
Number 1 on the Entropy list.
Bit of sizzle.
It's gonna be a birthday pick. Force
it. You're gonna force it upon me. Fair enough. How you doing this week, Blake?
Good, man. Good to be back on the pod.
How have you been doing this past 2 weeks, I should say? It's been a little bit.
Yeah, so we didn't record at all last week.
We did not.
So we skipped that one.
I was out. Bad timing.
Yeah, I was traveling for work in San Francisco. So that was cool. Ate some good food. Beautiful city. Yeah. Very hilly though.
I've heard mixed things. Some people love San Fran. Some people hate it because of the homeless. I've heard that's a problem.
Yeah, homeless population is very large. Very large. But yeah, weather was good. Got to sightsee, walk around, eat some good food.
Nice, man.
Yeah. So that was all good. And then as I kind of hit the chat, I was able to watch Kill Bill on a shitty hotel TV.
Let me guess, it was a Vizio.
I think it was, and this was also on TBS, so it was edited, so it was just comical.
So censored with commercials.
Censored in commercials was.
Oh my god! Comical. On a Vizio TV, man, it was like you're living in 200008.
Oh yeah, brother, maybe 05.
That's it. Yeah, honestly,
probably also took 4 hours to watch as well.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Actually, I think the amount of things they would have to cut from the TV version is probably balanced out by commercials, so it's probably like still the same runtime.
Let's say you could take a nap in the middle of it and still wake up and have the same movie going.
Yeah. So I was able to watch that, but yeah, outside of that, it was all good. Now you were in Denver. Right? You got some
the Mile High City.
Close time zone
out there. Yeah, it wasn't 2 hours back, just one. Which is still more jarring than I like it to be. I don't travel outside the time zones very often, but when I do, it's not. It's
unpleasant.
It's unpleasant. And what's funny is like I like you can't really get jet lag in the States. Like you can only go. If you're on the East Coast, you can only go back 3 or +3 if you're going vice versa. So, like, that's not really jet lag. I can't imagine what going overseas is like. I've never really flown overseas.
Or if you're not considering Hawaii state.
Okay, that too. Continental
I get jet lag in the same time zone, dog. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, jet lag's one of those
things. Well, that's a whole different story.
If I'm on a plane, I got jet lag.
I think you have narcolepsy.
You know what? That's kind of valid. Well, but yeah, man, Denver was good. Visiting my brother out there with with my other brothers, my cousins, and some friends. So good weekend. Yeah, just lots of fun. Went hiking, did a few other things, but chill weekend overall, I would say. Nothing too crazy. Still recovering. I had like a really late flight that got delayed, so I didn't get back here until like 11:30.
Yikes.
Oh yeah.
And then had work at 9 a.m. the next morning, so I had to get up for that, and just haven't had like catch up sleep yet. I've like kind of just maintained the same level so far, so I haven't had like a good night of catch up sleep to make up for all the lost sleep over the weekend. But it is what it is. We're living, we're vibing. So
Do you
good times.
Do you ever mix your ketchup sleep with like mustard sleep or mayonnaise sleep, or is it just always ketchup sleep?
Is Leah pregnant? Because that was a very dad joke. Like, sorry, just checking in over there. I don't know what happened in the last 2 weeks. It's been a while since we've caught up.
No, she is not.
But I love to mix my mustard with my ketchup sleep. Thanks for asking.
No problem.
When you see Tyler walk out of the car, get out of the little, souped up Fiesta, and he's just in a pair of New Balance and tube socks. That's when,
Yep.
but like still in like his like thigh high jean shorts or
Right.
whatever. That's when you know that Tyler and Leah have got a little one on the way, and he's entered his
Yeah.
true dad form. Yeah,
Yeah.
starts from the feet,
Times.
works.
You know
its
those
way up
memes
from
where
there.
it's like, I'm not going to tell anybody I won the lottery, but there will be
There'll be
signs.
signs. Yeah,
Yeah. I'm not
Wait,
going to
Tell
tell anybody I'm a
anyone my
dad,
wife's
but
pregnant.
there'll be signs.
it's just dad jokes and sensible shoes.
That's what it feels like. Well, anyway, fellas, anyone else have any big life updates or pod updates that they want to share? It's been 2 weeks, so now's the chance.
No, man, I don't think I've got any. Haven't purchased any new action figures.
Okay. Responsible.
Contemplating getting a Chucky doll or Child's Play doll. I don't know if I've talked about that on the pod, so
You might have.
looking at that. Cost keeps going up on those, dude. Every time I look, so like inflation. Fucking up.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
They've even got the
Gotta
good
use-
guy dolls. Jesus.
Gotta use
Christ.
Canadian dollars these days.
True.
Yeah, right. So yeah, no, none here. What about anybody else?
UFC 300 over the weekend was awesome.
Oh yeah. You shot us the text in the group chat. So heard it's nuts. Heard it was nuts.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, has that also permeated the like niche sphere of just MMA fans? Like, is it actual sports news as
That
well?
one knockout
Yeah,
that you
the one, yeah, for sure.
the one knockout you sent us, that definitely showed up on my feeds, but
Absolutely.
besides that, not much else.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, like, it was crazy. In a sport where a lot of times it's like, 2 or 3 big fights on a card, or maybe one big fight and like 2 or 3, ones that are competitive for like the hardcores, and then like, a bunch of other just kind of what you would say would be either filler or lower ranked or, newer debuting fighters on there. The UFC 300 pay-per-view was basically, stacked top to bottom with either like former champions or fan favorites, or like the debuting fighters are huge prospects and that kind of thing. So it was just they went quality over quantity, or quality and quantity. And then like in a world where everyone was kind of like saying, oh, this card's not going to live up to expectations. Like, I don't know. They don't have like a clear number one fight on here or everything. It just, I think, blew away all expectations. And then the Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje fight, which was actually the third fight from the main fight, which the main fight was also awesome too, just got overshadowed by like one of the best performances ever. Like it will be fight of the year, probably, bar none. It's probably going to be knockout of the year, bar none. Like, it will be in people's top 5 like fights of all time kind of thing. Just because there was a lot of other like kind of factors going in there as well too. You had the fact that it was on the UFC 300 card, which was kind of just being considered, this huge event. They had increased the bonuses to $300K per bonus. So if you got fight of the night, you got $300K. If you got knockout of the night, you got 300K. So that already set everyone up to be kind of like especially on point that night anyways. And then the fight itself it appealed to both hardcores and casuals, in that like the hardcores got Max just delivering an all-time great performance, and then in the last 10 seconds deciding to sit down, throw hands, and knock out a dude in the weight class above him in the last seconds, which was just insane. And everyone kind of had the same reaction, where it was just like everyone was standing up screaming, "Oh my God." I FaceTimed two of my friends, was just like, because I couldn't, like, I was alone in the apartment, and I was just like, I needed to experience it with other people. And then it was one that, like, again, collectively, like, the MMA community has just, like, you see everyone's feeds, and it's just been, for the last 2 or 3 days, people have just been like, every 2 or 3 hours, I just stop and stare into space and think about how Max Holloway fucking did that. And, like, or I've rewatched the end of the fight 30 times or something. So
Yeah,
it was
one of those.
definitely a big moment. It was really cool to see live. Like, it was just, hard to describe as well, too. Good times.
Cool, man.
Fair, man.
Yeah. If anyone
Ty, any updates?
wants to go watch it, Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje, one of the best fights you'll ever see.
House hunting sucks, and packing sucks.
Packing does suck, especially for like how long it takes in comparison to how long it takes on the other side as well to unpack.
It's like driving to Chicago.
Agreed.
You're going into Chicago, and it's like the worst time of your life because it takes 2 hours, and then on your way back, it's like 20 minutes, and you're like, "Oh, holy shit, this is great!
Oh,
Fuck this place."
That's a good comparison. Yeah, dude, fucking 4 years of college, I can tell you how many times I had to pack my shit up and move it.
Oh yeah, bro.
That's why
I don't even know how many times.
Bottom tier adult activity, man, as we always say.
Dude, it's the worst.
That's why every time I move, I just burn my house down and I just
Oh,
move on from there.
that's good.
Yeah.
Well,
Allegedly.
you know where there's
Allegedly.
you know where there's a lot of burning? In this movie. Welcome, listeners, to the main review segment of the podcast. We're going to go ahead and review the movie Civil War. Nathaniel, if the listener here is new, or maybe they've just forgotten, can you give them a rundown of how the review segment works?
Well, I don't know about if they're new, but I feel like maybe I've forgotten since it's been so long since we had everyone
It does feel like a
here.
really long time since we've recorded.
And the squadron is intact fully as well too.
Yeah.
I think that's
This is the
part of
first
it.
time the four of us have been together in over a month, I think.
Yeah, it's been a rough go of it for the Back Row boys here overall. But we're back. We're stronger than ever, and stronger together. That's what I was trying to say. I just combined both of them there. Much like the United States, we cannot be broken up.
Oh, Jesus.
So, if you're new, or maybe you just forgotten, here on Back Row Banter, the review segment is broken into 2 sections. There's the non-spoiler section, then there's the spoiler section. It's pretty self-explanatory. In the non-spoiler section, we'll talk about the movie's IMDb page, go over who directed it, who wrote it, who's in it, all that good stuff. We'll go around the squadron and decide if we will recommend this movie. Got to be a yes or no. There is no nuance on the internet. At that point, we'll probably hit the spoiler noise. I don't know what it'll be, but you'll find out. And if you don't have anything spoiled for you, go ahead and check out there, because we'll be going into our deeper thoughts and any big spoilers or plot twists from there on. But even if you don't want to have anything spoiled for you, do come back at the end of the review to see where we rank it up on our Entropy list, which is our big list of everything we've watched on the podcast ranked. With that being said, Adam, tell me about Captain America Civil War.
This is Captain America Civil War, released in the year 2016, rated PG-13. But no, this is non-Captain America, regular Civil War.
Oh, just America Civil War.
Just America Civil War. Not a Civil War like the one that already happened.
Right.
Just
Not,
the one that's bound to happen.
not the Ken Burns
Not race
documentary. Yeah, Civil
Correct.
War.
Not the Ken Burns Civil War documentary. Correct. This is just Civil War, released this year. It's a new movie, rated R, with a runtime of 1 hour and 49 minutes. That's very, very sweet to hear. I looked at the runtime before going to the screening, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna be out of here in like under 2 hours. This is gonna be great.
It was refreshing to see that.
Yeah.
I will have to say for myself though, my review was affected by the fact that I had to pee for 1 hour and 46 minutes of this movie. So
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, even though it had a normal runtime, it was very stressful for me. Which I think,
era.
yeah,
I
I
was
think
gonna say that sounds like a you problem.
if anything, added to the experience of this movie and added
Yes, the pressure building up
some
in
anxiety,
your mind and your bladder.
yeah, I was getting a physical response as well.
Right.
Anyways, I'm regretting this tangent, but let's go on.
It's got an IMDb rating of 7.6 out of 10, written and directed by none other than Alex Garland, who listeners might know from Ex Machina, which we have reviewed on pod, as well as Men, which we have reviewed on pod, as well as Annihilation, which we have not reviewed on pod. Those are his biggest movies. Is he done much else besides those 4?
He wrote Sunshine, and he wrote 28 Weeks and 28 Days Later, I want to say.
I see that now.
I think it's rumored that he more or less directed 28 Weeks Later as well, too. And he more or less ghost directed Dread, which that is a well-known fact that he basically directed that movie.
Got it. Okay, and let's see here. We have the cast includes, now it's kind of in a weird order, so I'm going to try to find the names I need to say. Nick Offerman's here. Gotta love him. Kirsten Dunst, Wagner Moura, who I will be referring to as Walmart, Pedro Pascal. And then we have
that is unkind.
Stephen McKinley Henderson, and did I say Kaylee Spaney?
You did not, but now
okay,
you did.
That is our main 4 cast members there, plus Nick Offerman. I think I'll probably leave it there. Is there anyone else that I need to say? Oh, Jesse Plemons is here. I don't want to forget my man, Jesse Plemons. He's
Blake, I think your mic might be cutting in and out.
I was going to say the same thing.
You guys got me?
Oh, now I do.
Now I do. Yeah.
Okay. No, I just interrupted. I said friend of the pod on Jesse.
Friend of the pod. Yeah. Man of the people, Jesse Plemons. But yeah, I think I'll leave it there. That's our main set of characters and cast members. So with all that being said, the IMDb summary reads as follows. A journey across a dystopian future America following a team of military-embedded journalists as they race against time to reach D.C. before rebel factions descend upon the White House. It's a good summary. Yeah.
I don't know if they're embedded. Are they embedded? They're more freelance, no. I feel like.
They are, yeah, military embedded. I don't know if that necessarily implies that they are part of the military.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They just have connections in the military. I mean, they definitely seem like they are either freelance or they're independent of some sort.
Obviously,
or working for organizations.
Obviously, Kirsten Dunst and Wagner are vets, and obviously Stephen McKinley Henderson is too.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know if they're embedded.
It's implied McKinley Henderson's character Sammy, he works for the New York Times.
Something like that. Yeah.
That was, I think, implied at the beginning when they're at the hotel, and then later on, Wagner says they work for Reuters, but I don't know if that was a lie.
Right.
It's never kind of explicitly said, so I don't know. But yeah, we're here, fellas. What are our thoughts on Alex Garland's latest and potentially last film? No, I'm just kidding. He's taking a hiatus from directing, but will continue to write. I don't know if you guys saw that. This is, for now, his last directing gig.
No, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Oh
no, I was just gonna say. Yeah, okay. No, I was just gonna say this. He said he's kind of over directing, a little burnt out right now, so he's just gonna focus on writing, and we'll come back at some point. He thinks to directing, but
gotcha. I think he's actually rumored to be writing 28 months later.
Oh, yes, that'd be cool.
Well, so that's kind of in the works. So yeah, shout out to him. Pretty good writer. In terms of Civil War, so I guess we'll jump into it first. Pre-spoilers. Went in relatively blind. Anybody who's familiar with Alex Garland's work, you kind of know there's going to be some sort of either like twist or message of what you think there's some sort of twist or message, right? We'll kind of save the rest for spoilers. So yeah, I mean, I went in kind of pretty blind, just some background from him, but overall, I feel like I was pretty pleased. The runtime, as Adam echoed earlier, was awesome. Where like I feel like there is a cut somewhere where this movie is like 2.5 hours long, but then this was made by Alex Garland, and all his movies happen to be like 2 hours on the dot, or before,
or less,
or
yes.
earlier, right? Yeah, which is awesome. Kirsten Dunst is first time I've seen her on film in a long time. Now maybe I'm just not familiar with.
You are misremembering Power of the Dog.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I was trying to think in theater. I was like, when's the last time I've seen?
Well, so that came to Netflix. I'm thinking they may got a theatrical run. I only watched it on streaming. I don't know if it came to theaters or if you saw it in theaters. But I think that was a Netflix movie that got some Oscar nods. But yeah, she was one of the main characters in that, along with Jesse Plemons and Benedict Cumberbatch.
Who is her husband? Jesse Plemons.
Yes, Jesse Plemons, not Benedict, but yes, Jesse Plemons.
So yeah, overall, I liked it. She's good. The kind of the message and story of what this tells, we'll kind of deep dive it in spoilers. I like it. I kind of walked away at first when I was like, what is this movie really trying to tell me? And then after I was able to digest it for some time, I got on board, right? So immediately I was invested in terms of just how the cinematography, where it's showing, you see scenes as like a regular audience viewer, right? And then it cuts through the quick snaps that they're actually taking in a photography sense, which I was like, okay, if the movie's filmed like this throughout its entirety, I'm okay with that. And they kept that same pace. Jesse Plemons' character is fucking awesome in this, and he has a very small segment. It's like damn near a cameo. And fun fact on that, I was reading on, is that they actually had somebody else cast for that role. And then he just kind of happened to be on the set because he's married to Kirsten Dunst, and Alex Garland was like, fuck it, let's have Jesse Plemons do it. He went to the store, bought some random shit, and that's why he has like pink glasses on in the scene.
Yeah.
And shot some lines out and rolled with it. So yeah, stuff like that, having background in movies is awesome. I like the movie. We'll deep dive it further on. That's kind of my thoughts. So I'd recommend. I'll pass it to we'll go Nathaniel.
Yeah, I just saw this movie today. About
You're fresh out.
2
Your heart's
hours
still pumping.
ago. Yeah, that's right. I'm fresh out.
You go to the bathroom yet?
I did, yeah. Immediately
good.
afterwards. Yeah,
Good.
that
good.
photo could not develop any slower. But yeah, so I feel overall I'm pretty positive on this. I've seen a lot of people, or I feel like critics are pretty divided. I haven't paid a ton of attention to it, but at least film Twitter seems to be. I think immediate thoughts, I'm more positive on it than I was on Men, which was obviously
Absolutely
the preceding Garland film. I think there's a lot of really interesting takes in here that I'm sure we'll go into a bit more into spoilers, but in terms of things that like I'm kind of reminded of, it reminded me a lot of Apocalypse Now in some ways. In kind of like the overall structure of like this kind of a journey to a location, and simultaneously, like the closer you get to the location, the further into like hell you're going, basically. It's the same structure we see in the Inferno, it's the structure we see in Apocalypse Now, it's the structure we see in Heart of Darkness, it's the structure we see here, where they've got to go from New York down to DC and closer and closer to kind of where all of the action is. And I like that episodic nature of the movie itself rather than the kind of traditional action flick kind of structure, I think. I feel like that makes this feel more I don't want to say realistic, but naturalistic, maybe is the word I'm looking for, where everything feels, kind of crazy things happen to them, but it feels very believable and lived in and, true to life in some ways. And I think the fact that Garland is British making a film about America is always an interesting kind of dynamic and makes you feel like, there's this kind of outside perspective looking in and can simultaneously make you uncomfortable, but simultaneously like give you maybe a better understanding of yourself and, the image that maybe we project and that kind of thing. So I thought it was a cool movie. I'd probably give it like a B plus maybe if I was giving it like a tier ranking right now, but we'll see. Tyler?
Well, seeing as that's not how we rate things here, you idiot.
I did realize that as I said that, like, I was like, we've never talked about a letter ranking,
Anytime we do rankings too, it's like usually out of 10 or something.
Yeah,
like
I don't know. I was feeling a B today. What can I say?
that. Okay. You feeling
cool
a B
with
and
it.
feeling a P.
Yeah, B. I want you all. Your B in my scale is actually like second from the bottom as well too. This is just a random alphabetical scale that I'm coming up with. But
I'm cool with it.
All right, cool.
I'm cool with it, as in like I'm cool with this movie. This movie and I are pretty chill with one another.
Did it get your pulse pumping?
No.
Okay.
No. I will say from a cinematic lens, I thoroughly enjoy the way that this was shot. Kind of like what Blake was saying earlier too, where they take the picture and you'll see the character take the picture and then they'll show you the picture, little snapshot. That was a really good choice. And I think it helped out quite a bit. I like seeing that perspective, especially being somebody that does like photography. It's cool to see that. I think everybody does a killer job as far as acting goes. Again, kind of to mirror what Nathaniel said, the world does feel very believable. Nothing like too outlandish happens. Everything feels very realistic, very lived in. And it's cool that you kind of get thrown into it without too much backstory to kind of what's going down. But yeah, we'll kind of dig into that in spoilers a little bit more. But overall, I had a pretty good experience with this movie. I think I'm definitely more on the recommend side than the not recommend side, but it's probably like, to give you a rating that we don't usually do here, I'm like 60-40.
Okay.
It's like a
Yeah.
B.
Yeah, it's kind of like a B. So that's where I'm kind of at. But I am a recommend. I did enjoy watching this. Unlike Adam's comment about Wagner, I do not prefer him over Pedro, but I do like him very much. My
Well, hang on. My comment about him was nothing about the quality of him. I thought he was fantastic in this movie. I just wanted to say all I could think about was Pedro Pascal every time I saw him.
I mean, is Walmart your favorite store to go to?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what are you saying about Walmart there?
All right,
man?
fine. Then he was
Yeah.
Target Pedro Pascal. I don't
Trader
know, what do you
Joe's
want from
at
me?
least.
Sure, there you go.
First of all, what store is Pedro Pascal?
Whole Foods.
We got to start a baseline.
Best
Foods
Buy
is
305 from 2018 to 2021.
Oh shit!
Now we're cooking. I don't know if he's that good though, but he is damn good.
Here at Back Row Banter, we like to put everything on a scale that you may or may not understand. And we don't really give a shit.
That will be absolutely incomprehensible, except for about 20 people
It may not be relevant to you at all.
who don't
but you
listen to
will
this
try to grasp.
podcast.
Yeah. Before I get into my thoughts here, I'm curious what format you guys watch this in. IMAX, Dolby,
IMAX.
digital, IMAX.
IMAX.
Dolby.
Okay. So we're all on I was IMAX myself. Was curious because I think this is definitely a movie that benefits from either of those formats and would highly encourage viewers to go see it in one of those formats.
Yeah. Speaking of the formats, real quick before you jump off on that.
Yeah, no, you're good.
I believe this was the first A24 IMAX film, if I'm not mistaken.
Whoa.
Oh,
I believe so. And I think it's the largest budget for A24 film.
Did I see Midsommar and or Hereditary are going to get released in IMAX at some point? I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that.
I think it's
I know
Midsummer's coming back. But I
Yeah,
don't know if
it might,
it's going
it might
in
just be coming
IMAX.
back. I could have sworn I saw one of them was going to be in IMAX at some point, but I could be very wrong.
It feels like something I sent the group chat.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
That'd be
Anyway.
dope.
Dude, y'all are nuts. All right, this movie slaps. Dude, I loved this movie. The second the credits rolled, like I knew exactly how I felt about this. There was no questioning of like whether or not I like this. This is, in my opinion, of all the Alex Garland I've seen, this is his best movie. This is better than Ex Machina. This is obviously better than Men. I haven't seen Annihilation, so I can't speak to that. But dude, I love this movie. And then I know at some point Nathaniel's gonna bring up, oh, you journalism dude, cameras, it's like it's not even that, like this is it's not even like my personal relationship to like the themes of this movie or the subject matter of this movie. It's just I thought this was a really well done movie, up and down, top to bottom, well written, well shot, well directed, action's great, sound design's fantastic, like soundtrack's really good. Just gets your blood pumping, as you said, Nathaniel. Like you were gripped for 149 minutes, like straight almost. And especially that third act, I thought that was really well done. I didn't really realize how much tension and stress I was holding in my body until the credits started. And I just took the deepest breath and just like finally let it all out. And I just didn't realize how tense I actually was, like watching that final act. I think this movie's amazing. I don't know how anyone split on this. I thought it was really good, and I know you guys liked it, but like I love this movie. Like I really, really love this movie. I think it's incredible. I think it's definitely Alex Garland's best work from everything I've seen, of course. So yeah, I'm definitely recommend go see this in theaters, please. I don't think it's really not a movie that will do justice on TV with with a soundbar or with a decent speaker setup. Like I think I really benefited. I think from the IMAX, from the sound design. I don't know how loud Dolby was or how much you got out of Dolby, but I felt like the sound was really necessary in this movie to kind of elicit the tension and the gunfire and the kind of the thrillerness of it that is present throughout. Like I think the sound's really necessary for it. So if you can, go see it in theaters before it's too late. I know this is definitely a movie that like people are gonna love or like talk about once it comes to streaming, and it's gonna be too late to see it in theaters. But if you can, definitely go see this. Like, don't even hesitate. In my opinion, like this is definitely one you want to see in theaters. And the fact that it's under 2 hours, like it's definitely an easy watch in that regard. Not an easy watch in terms of what you're watching, but an easy watch in terms of like you can just get in and get out pretty quick, and you're gonna get a good experience out of it. So I'm for sure recommend. I really really loved this movie.
Yeah, good point on the audio of this. Where the audio on this film the audio on this film is excellent. There's times where it goes to those stagnant like photography shots, and then it just cuts immediately to like gunfire, a car driving by, a helicopter overhead, and it hits you in the theater. So all
the gunshots too. I was hearing, I don't know if it was directly from an interview Alex Garland did, if I heard it secondhand, but I heard that the gunfire that they used in the sound design was pretty close to actual gunfire, or at least like just pretty close to recording the actual sounds that they had on set or the blanks they had on set. And I guess a lot of times with gunfire in movies, like they alter it so it's not quite as jarring to people, because the sound of an actual gunshot is going to elicit somewhat of a fear response in you. And so some movies, just if there's going to be a ton of gunshots, they will alter it so it's softened a little bit, so you're not as like kind of shook by it. And they just didn't do that this time around. Alex Garland tried to get as close as he could to recording the actual like live blanks and the live gunshots. And I think it definitely showed up in the movie. Like the impact of the gunshots in this movie hit you more than almost any other movie I've seen personally. You definitely feel almost every single one, and I definitely think that theater experience is part of it. Like I said, like if you crank up your quarter size TV speakers, like this movie's just not going to have the same effect. Like I mean, no,
Yeah, the Hotel Vizio is not doing justice. If you watch this in 2028,
yeah, dude,
Yeah.
the Hotel Vizio is not gonna do it for you, and like it's sad because I almost want to go see this in theaters again just so I can have that same experience where it's the impact of every single gunshot, because it's just, it's hard to replicate that at home, almost impossible without, a really nice sound system. So it's definitely one where I think you're going to benefit from seeing it in theaters quite a bit. And it's, great that we got 2 of these this year. Dune and this, I feel like, are great examples of like, see a movie in theaters, please, for the love of God.
That's a. Are you
I
going where I think you're going? I guess we'll chat spoilers.
We'll slow
chat
down. We'll
spoilers.
slow down in that regard. Yeah, we'll see where
Nathaniel's looking like I'll fucking jump off this Discord right now. This is where I think we're going.
Duh, journalism. Duh. What was I supposed to say?
Cameras. But yeah, man, this is a good movie. Definitely recommend. I wanted to go into spoilers now, unless anyone else has anything else they want to say, non-spoilers.
No, let's spoil it up.
All right. Well, if you've not seen Civil War and do not want it spoiled for you, go ahead, check that episode description where you've left a timestamp you could jump to, where you'll be taken to the ranking of the movie up upon the entry list. Spoiler time, Nathaniel.
Spoilers. Shit goes down.
So shit goes down. Yeah,
man.
Start here, fellas.
I guess I'll kind of pick up, right, because I kicked it off first. So at first, like when I was watching this and then it finished, my first thought was like, I'll backtrack. Going in, I'm always know that Alex Garland's gonna have some sort of weird twist of everything, whether you go back to Ex Machina, Annihilation, Men, whatever. So I was kind of anticipating that the entire time, and like ultimately you don't get it. So then eventually I was kind of watching the film, or afterwards I was thinking back and I was like, what is this trying to tell me? Like, what's the message of this? And then it finally hit me and it was like, I don't think this film really has a message of anything. And I think it's more so just like the capturing of an event through photography, which once I was able to take that in, I was like, you know what? I'm on board. Right, where ultimately I feel like this film's like not really telling us much. You have a vague idea of why this civil war is even going on in the first place, right? Are the people we travel with, right, the photography team, through the eyes of the viewer, like they're not really on either side. They're there just to fucking capture what's going on. They want to try to speak to the president to figure out his stance on a few questions. But outside of that, it's like, as a viewer, it's like, all that stuff is null. It's just like, hey, like the world's fucked. This is what it would look like. And I think they do a good job, or Alex Garland does a good job of portraying how that would be in real time, because like that's how it would be if you were to see the stuff on the internet, right? Of just like a bunch of photographies, you're looking at people dying, they're capturing videos of people getting shot, people dying right next to them with hands out, and kind of eerily similar to like Nightcrawler in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Nightcrawler was a big comparison as I was watching this movie. That's what coming to mind.
But I think that has like a larger theme of like him trying different film. We've already talked about it, nonetheless. With Civil War, I feel like we don't have that underlying theme. I think it's just kind of like, hey man, like this is where the world's at, and this is what it looks like. At least that's my takeaway from it. Now, if anybody has any different statements on that, feel free to let me know. But yeah, that was kind of my gist of it.
Yeah, I think it's I think you're right, where I don't think this Alex Garland film has a big twist or a big turnaround or a big like, oh shit kind of moment. It's much more traditional kind of story in that regard, where he's not really trying to like dupe you or anything like that. And hearing kind of his thoughts on what the movie is leading up to the events or leading up to this movie, it definitely seems like you're right. It is more not only just like capturing, this kind of event or like war through images, but like journalism especially is like the big focus of this movie. The Civil War title is almost like misleading. Like it's not, you could expect this movie to be an action movie about a civil war in the United States. And it's really not about that. It is definitely about the journalists. It's about, what it means to be capturing, a war of any kind, and what the jobs that journalists do to be on the front lines of that, and then when you extrapolate that a little bit more, it's not just the front lines of a war zone; it's the front lines of say the January 6th riots, or the protests that happened, in 2020, like those kind of things. Journalists, and even now in like Israel and Gaza and those war zones, like regardless of whatever side, like there've been countless journalists that have died, just being in that environment. And so that's kind of like the big theme here that I think he's kind of going for, as well as like what it takes to have that kind of job and what it takes to like want to have that kind of job. There's a lot of that there too. So yeah, I definitely don't think he's trying to like trick you or there's some kind of twist like he's had in his other movies. That's definitely not what he's trying to do there, which is I guess new kind of for Alex Garland a little bit, at least, again, from the ones I've seen. I haven't seen his whole discography or all the movies that he's written or anything like that. But yeah, I definitely don't think there's like a huge thing that he's trying to pull on you, which is somewhat relieving because you're almost expecting it the whole time a little bit. But yeah, Nathaniel, Ty, any thoughts on that?
Go ahead, Ty.
So I had to get up, so I'm coming in mid-conversation.
Oh, you're good.
So,
okay. I mean, I'll go. I guess. Kicking off from there. Like I said, the story structure itself is the journey, right? It's we are going to Washington D.C. or at least the front lines, and we are. The MacGuffin is that they're going to try and get an interview from the president before the Western forces take over, basically. And along the way, they've also picked up their kind of elderly rival mentor figure who is
colleague.
Who is going with them down to the front lines, and then a fresh-faced rookie who is hero worshiping Kirsten Dunst's character as well too, and that's the photojournalist team as they kind of go down there. And I think it was an interesting choice to kind of follow the media, quote unquote, in this context, particularly with the steering the film into kind of these hot button issues over the last few years, pop culture, or not pop culture, but just cultural war or culture war maybe issues that have gone on, i.e. the state of media, the role of the media, and what that overall means. And I think in that sense, if you're not careful, the movie can be very muddled in its messaging in some ways, where my reading of the film is this kind of how do I want to phrase it? This kind of Apocalypse Now meets Nightcrawler, or Apocalypse Now for the Nightcrawler generation, where the media is simultaneously complicit in the things that in the elements and images that they're capturing, but at the same time, the drive to get the perfect image or get the newest image or get the most realistic or powerful image is also this kind of drug, which you have kind of spread out across the three triumvirate of Joel, Kirsten Dunst, and Kaylee Spaney, as where you have like Kristen Dunst, who still has a heart but is like pretty strung out, veteran, jaded at this point, doesn't want the rookie there because she's concerned for her and is afraid that she's going to lose different parts of herself here, metaphorically and physically, and not maybe like who she becomes afterwards. And then you have Joel, who is maybe the scariest out of all of them, who like this is quite literally the only thing that makes him like feel alive anymore. And I think that's an interesting dynamic to have across your kind of three main characters. But yeah, maybe I'm talking a lot. Like I said, I'm pretty fresh out of this movie too, so maybe I'm still featuring everything into
fully settled.
into a coherent thought. I think overall, like I said, I am positive on it. I like its episodic nature. I like its little vignettes. I think Alex Garland is very gifted at tense moments. I think he's always been really good at that. And in this one, you just get these kind of little escalating moments, which is fun for me as a viewer, I think. The overall messaging of the movie itself, like we're obviously into spoilers. So the Kristen Dunst's character's death and like the photographing of that moment. I've talked to a couple people now that were like, well, that's like so telegraphed in the movie. And it's like, yeah, that's the point of the movie. Like there wouldn't be a movie without that kind of thing. Like, does it feel on the nose? Maybe in comparison to like the rest of the movie, which is so kind of what we've talked about, realistic and naturalistic. And like, I guess if you're gonna, it's kind of the argument of like, if you're gonna make a movie that's supposed to feature a really popular song and then you play the song, it has to kind of sound like a really popular song would be, and that's always difficult to make. So like, if you're gonna say we're gonna look at these photos and one of these photos is going to be very dramatic, and then you see the photo and it's Kristen Dunst dying, which we see, but like you don't see any element of that in the photo itself. So it's almost a little bit of a letdown in that way, for me, I think. But I don't know, maybe I'm rambling again. Guys, help me out here. Or make my thoughts more coherent.
A letdown in terms of like not seeing the like core behind it, or like the actual
I guess
come in, or
like you're set up so many times where at the movie where they've talked about like the perfect shot. And then, and the, I think like at one point she's like maybe 1 in 30 are keepers or something like that. And that
Which, as someone who's done a lot of photography, that's very true.
True, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so true.
And then you have that moment at the end, and it was just kind of like, it's dramatic for me as the viewer because I know I've watched it. But if someone else was given that photo without the context of the film, would they know what's going on? I guess it was my point.
Sure.
Which now out loud sounds small and nitpicky, but yeah, I mean, I found the overall scope and shape of the movie to be satisfying. I will say, like, maybe when we got to that third act and we got to the Jesse Plemons scene, coming out of that scene, I felt like I had a good idea of maybe where the rest of the movie was going to go. And I wasn't super surprised from that, at that point. It felt like you with what they had set up, there was only so many ways it could kind of finish as well too. Which I don't think is like, to Adam's point, I think the third act is still effective, but I do think it maybe falls a little bit in that regard. And maybe again, to kind of what Blake's saying, if you're used to an Alex Garland film, you're used to that kind of rhythm to it, and maybe kind of that third act, not twist necessarily, but something to bite that you can kind of dig into a little bit more. And this was a little bit more following the stereotype or the archetype maybe of the story that they were trying to tell, and that felt a little weird for those of us more experienced with those movies.
Once you get to the third act, like you're not with your characters intimately. The trio, you're not really with them intimately, so you don't get a super satisfying conclusion to the arc, but he does a great job portraying where they end up, where you definitely feel present in every moment that you're in with them, and he's very gifted at that.
where charting the character's emotional state in the moments maybe is a little bit more difficult.
I see. I disagree. I think I felt like I could relate to what each character was kind of going through in that moment very well. And in terms of like Kirsten Dunst from the beginning has that kind of like 1,000-yard stare that is just jaded from seeing so many messed up things like you can't even imagine. The horrors that she's seen. And you have Wagner. You have Target Pedro. Coming in and like you said, kind of just nothing's really doing anything for him unless he's kind of in that environment. And when he's in that environment, you see how excited he is. And then you kind of see Jesse, like you see her progression to get to where Kirsten Dunst's character ends up. And like the last shot of the movie, or at least one of the last shots of the movie, is her taking that photo and it's zooming out and she's got that 1,000-yard stare. And it's not until after she sees Kirsten Dunst's character Lee, like she sees her die, like that's when that happens. And like you understand now she's seeing things that she can't unsee, and like she's got the same kind of disease, if you want to call it that Kirsten Dunst's character has. And like to see that come full circle from like where how innocent she was like at the beginning of the movie, to see that come all the way, and you kind of see the progression, you see the events that lead to you becoming so jaded, like that to me was really well done. And I felt like I could kind of understand that progression, and I felt like I could relate to the characters throughout. And like in terms of third act and like touching on the death of Lee, I think that payoff was really good. The setup of earlier in the movie, Jesse asks Lee if she would photograph the moment that she got hit by a bull or something like that. And like and like you kind of guess her answer, and like you kind of guess that Jesse wouldn't like that where she is, but then all of a sudden Jesse is more than capable of taking that photo, and like to get all the way there. And then also in terms of Lee's character, you see the setup of right before the third act, she says like there's a lot worse ways Sammy could have died, and like this is still like what he ended up wanting to do, and like he knew the risks and all that kind of thing. And like when you see Kirsten Dunst's death, like there's probably a lot worse ways she could have died, in her field, and like saving someone else who could go on and almost carry her legacy in a way, and like she can kind of pass on that torch, like saving Jesse. There's a lot of worse ways she could have died other than saving, a colleague and now a friend. Like I was very present through, I felt like all of those developments, of the characters. I don't think Joel's character didn't go through a ton in terms of like character development, but like I still felt like connected to him as a character, and he's kind of like the glue in that sense, where he's keeping kind of the four of them together for the most part, and kind of keeping them on track. And I still really like his character. He just isn't, there's not a lot for him to like change off of. And maybe I'm just missing a little bit of his. I would love to rewatch and see like what he goes through to kind of change a little bit. But I think the characters carry this movie, and definitely one of the strongest parts of it.
Do you think you'd connect more with his character if it was Pedro Pascal?
Maybe a little bit. No, but well, his name's also Joel, which doesn't help the comparison.
Yeah, right.
His name is also Joel, which is him in The Last of Us. But no, I will say, like, dude, I think the acting is incredible in this movie. Like, Kirsten Dunst is so good, dude. They all kill it. All four of them kill it. And it's like I felt bad because in this movie I was like, haha, Walmart Pedro Pascal. But then I was also like, he's killing it though. He like Wagner, he's doing such a good job, dude. And so yeah, I really liked his performance. Kaylee Spaney, dude, kills it. Like again, that arc that I just described and her kind of development. Like who else can? I mean, that was really impressive for her.
Yeah, she's gonna be around for a minute.
After this one,
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say after this movie, I definitely could see it, but I don't know. I'm not really familiar with her, so I don't know what else she's been in.
Yeah, this was pretty much my introduction to her as well. But funny enough, looking at her IMDb or Letterboxd, I should say, I'm just using IMDb as the term. She's gonna be in Alien Romulus, which comes out later this year, which should actually be pretty good. Fede Alvarez. Side note, but yeah, so to your point in terms of Kaylee's character and her kind of trajectory and her kind of growth, right? Where you see her go on as the very naive photographer. She's scared, she's nervous. The opening scene is like a fucking grenade going off behind a car, right? And she's
Well, it wasn't even a grenade; it was a suicide bomber, dude. Like,
oh yeah. Good catch.
yeah,
Good catch.
flag. Yeah, dude, it was the flag running in, and the second I saw that flag, because they cut to that one girl in the backpack, and I was like, I know what's about to happen.
Yeah.
But then when you see the flag running behind, you're like, oh,
It was like full
yeah.
blown Lord of the Rings.
right? No, 100%.
It was like Helm's Deep.
Yeah. So to watch her go from who she was in that scene to at the end finally like embracing the like photographer and kind of that whole ideology of you gotta do everything you can, you get the shot. So rather that's the person, the team you're traveling with, right, or anybody's in compromising situations, right? Like that's ultimately that's why you take that job, right? To be able to capture those moments that people want to see and capture those moments that last a lifetime. So I mean, as far as Kirsten Dunst's character like dying as I think Nathaniel mentioned it. I think most people kind of saw that coming from like the jump of the movie, right? Like that would probably be her turn of events. But yeah, overall I like it. And ultimately, there's only 2 deaths, right? There's what's our man's name? Sammy, right? And then Kirsten Dunst's character. Then obviously there's like the
two Asian fellas.
Yeah.
Which okay, but they're like hardly with us though. But I got you. Yeah.
When I saw them, I was like, they're dead. Like those are
right,
throwaway characters.
Right,
like,
for sure.
You are here to die. Sorry.
Yeah.
Nice knowing you.
Which that scene is awesome because that's the scene, listeners, that
Jesse Plemons.
Jesse Plemons. Yeah, Jesse Plemons. Of just
got my palms sweating.
Yeah, of just like, sir, like we're American. Then he's like, all right. What kind of American are you? And like that's such a modern,
he's just like scratching his beard
question.
and
yeah.
He's just like, all right, well, what kind of American are you? It's just like, how do you answer that? Like you can't, like, you don't know what side he's on. You don't know like what response is going to be acceptable to him. It turns out like he just, they answer Colorado and Missouri, like he doesn't really care. But then the second guy answers Hong Kong. Oh shit, yeah.
What a mistake on that guy, right? For that to be his answer when he asked.
Yeah, bro. Just
but obviously he's trembling. He's nervous.
The West Coast somewhere. Like,
yeah. He was nervous. Obviously froze up in that situation. But yeah, talk about it. I knew he was cooked.
Yeah, he was cooked from the beginning, dude.
Yeah, cooked, for sure.
I will say I think my favorite scene in this was not actually the Plemons scene. I think it's the sniper scene.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. I could agree with that too.
There's some good cinematography in that too, because you're looking at the 2 snipers there and there. You got one of the guy who's like the scout with the scope, the other guy who's the shooter, spotter. Thank you. And then you just get character development on there. You don't get names, background, or any of that, but the character development.
You don't see him ever again.
No, but you get the character development of who they are and like kind of what they stand for just through how they express yourself with like painted nails, dyed hair. And it kind of gives you a gauge of like who these people were at one point in time or who they are, and they're just now caught in the war. So yeah, that was really good. And that was a funny line where I forgot what does he ask him, and he was like, does he ask him, is he deaf or can you hear me?
Yeah,
he's like the R word.
He drops an R bomb.
He does.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and then he looks at Kaylee's character, right? It was like, does he understand what I'm saying?
He was like, what are we doing right now? And she's like getting shot at, and then he was at Walmart. Pedro,
we're from the press. That's why it's written on the side of your car.
He's like, now I know why it's written on the side of your car.
Yeah,
so good. That whole scene, what a jump scare too, dude. That shot came out of nowhere. I don't know, like,
but that goes back to that audio, like you're saying. That audio was nuts. Because it was so quiet and just dialogue, and then like it would just be gunfire.
And you could, and I don't know, like I can like kind of sniff out when almost exactly when those things are happening. And he did something with the camera, like he cut right before that jump scare. Because usually with a jump scare like that, like you'll have the camera hold for a second, but he like cut right before the shot. Like he made a cut in the camera, and then the shot came in, and like that's just like hard to prepare yourself for. So, that was definitely effective. Yeah, dude, the movie, like, story wise, all that other stuff aside, visually, I thought this movie looked stunning, and honestly, like maybe one of his best that I've seen in terms of like just pure visuals. There were a few of those moments where I was just like, oh my god.
Now, have you seen Annihilation?
I've not, so I
Okay.
can't speak to that.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to go on my list. But what does that mean, Nathaniel?
I think Alex Garland's got a few aesthetic styles or a few shots that he likes, and those shots pop up every now and again, which is fine. That's like a lot of directors do that as well too. But like this was definitely, I had that moment as well too, where I think like 75% of this movie looks good. And then it like weirdly flattens out at some bits as well too, where it just doesn't seem
Yeah. No, I can
quite
agree with
right.
that.
But there's a lot where I'm like, it looks really very clear, but also in cinematic, but also has that kind of news camera quality to it.
Yes.
In some
And I think,
situations,
very intentional though.
yeah,
Very, very
100%,
intentional.
100%. I think it is as well too. And I read something that they were using like some sort of, I think, new red camera or something.
I saw that at least some of it was shot in it with a DJI Ronin
Sure.
7 or 8 or something
Yeah,
like that.
so-
A new DJI camera.
They were doing something with it that was like, you know, a zillion pixels on there on the image sensor
Right.
or something. But anyways, point being that like I do think it gave you that sense of, like we've talked about, kind of immediacy, and that coupled with the sound design was really, really effective at putting you in there with the characters. I do feel like sometimes though it did flatten the image out a little bit for me and didn't have quite the same color. I feel like it feels like the color was a little washed out sometimes as well too, especially when you have
Yeah.
like the Western forces who's like their colors seem to be like that vibrant pink, vibrant green, vibrant blue, like
Well, I was gonna
trifold.
bring up color because I can agree with you. I don't know, the grading felt a little inconsistent here and there. But then in terms of like color, like there was some interesting use of color where like there was almost like spray paint, like neon blue, pinks, yellows,
Yeah.
or like even those sniper guys like had like colored face paint on,
Yeah.
like which is a very deliberate choice because it comes over all the time, and I couldn't understand the meaning of it. Or like what that was imitating or implicating, or like what, I don't know. I'd love to see someone's interpretation, like why he's using those colors the way he is, beyond maybe just a visual standpoint. Maybe he just wanted to pop a color there. I don't know, but
IMDb
I thought it was very
trivia seems to think that it's supposed to be like reflective of things they saw in like the Ukrainian war or whatever, like where they would like just use the like 2 or 3 different color sets as like their kind of symbol where they were going, and like, or that became like their symbol of other things, and like I guess
interesting. Okay.
other movements have done that as well too, but that's just what the IMDb trivia says. Could be something else. Who knows?
Who knows? But that, yeah, definitely something you notice.
Yeah, I think that is definitely part of it. And I feel like this movie read to me like it was Alex Garland's COVID movie. Like he wrote this while it was COVID still. And like
yeah, I can see that.
the way
Yep.
that, like, I see that particularly in the scene where they go to the small town and it's like everything's normal, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
And it very much reminded me of that, like, of the days of the pandemic where like Chicago would be on lockdown, but like I would drive down to like visit my mom or something, and it would be like, yeah, no pandemic here. You know, everyone's just walking the street normal, right? And like, and I think too that kind of
the water truck scene is also very reminiscent of the pandemic.
yeah, and then like again, I think part of it too has been like I think you do see like the Ukraine war in there as well too, in that like the role of the photojournalist, or like the people who are the photojournalist, has changed as well.
Right.
In some ways this movie is kind of like a throwback in that sense, that like for
Sure.
arguing that like photojournalism is still going to be like a viable career path in 2057 or whatever this is set. Like
It's very much an homage to like traditional journalism.
right,
for
yeah,
sure.
like in traditional war journalism movies,
Right.
like if it was today,
Which
it'd be everyone
yeah.
be using, you know, whatever TikTok account you're using or whatever. Like that's how.
Well, I mean, nowadays there's just drone footage of the Ukraine war just all over the YouTube.
Right.
Like you go watch that shit right now.
So yeah, I think, you know, he's got some ideas there, and I think it does read like that to me, that it's this kind of let me show you what it could be like kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. And I think the choice to have Jesse's character, it is a film camera. It's a Nikon. Both like in terms of kind of catering to the homage of like traditional journalism and the black and white photography. It also is a good tool, especially in the third act when they're in that White House infiltration and she's kind of like having to reload the film like she's reloading a bolt action rifle so she can take a photo and has to like kind of load another one. Very effective in that regard. There's definitely a cool choice there.
There's so many times where I was like, if I was one of those army guys, I'd be so fucking pissed at these guys.
Oh, dude, I know.
Right.
Dude, I know. There's a lot to be
like, and I'm not. That's not a criticism or anything because I feel like
I 100% agree because I'm like, dude, get out of the way. Like you are literally in front of these people.
I'm gonna shoot you in the knee right now just so you stay in one spot.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, you're about to get your ass like sat back down. Like, get out of the way, please. But of course, that's all for dramatic effect. What you guys think of like just the outright kind of brutality of that this shows in terms of war and like they're not taking hostages. Like there's several times in this movie where like, hey, don't shoot, and they obviously do anyway. That's not something you see in a lot of Hollywood movies, and I definitely think that's an intentional choice and like definitely amplifies like the brutality of the war and the conflict and all that. But do you guys have any specific thoughts there? Agree, disagree?
I thought I thought it was very accurate as far as like, the way that things should look and kind of kept it true to the whole thing that we've kind of been talking about, that this world feels very real, feels very realistic. It feels lived in. And so I think along with the audio that we were talking about, it definitely, it sounded like real guns. If you've shot a real gun, you know what guns sound like. And,
True.
Yeah, I think it was part of the realism, and I think they did a great job. I don't think anything looked overly CGI either.
Yeah,
I think it gestures at something that I think is, I'm unsure of the film's position on, which is again kind of going back to the theme of the role of the photojournalist and like I'd be curious like in the universe of the movie which of those photos go on to be published. We as the viewers are seeing them, but like when the story gets told on the news the next day the Western forces have taken over, are they going to talk about the press secretary who tries to negotiate for her life and immediately gets shot and then like
right,
she's got the photos of it and like
what pictures are they going to use for whatever narrative they want to create?
And what is Jesse's responsibility to put those photos out there and what are they kind of and then you have the kind of like, and I think the film's obviously making a commentary on that with the kind of final image of the president down there, but like I feel like that also does call back to images which if I think Sammy brings up at one point, but like if in history class you guys were ever shown like the photos of after Mussolini was captured by like the forces or Gaddafi or anything like that, like those dudes get murdered and tortured in the streets and like people kind of they're there and they document it and we all kind of collectively just decide to not talk about it anymore and that kind of thing,
right.
And I feel like it kind of, again, the word that comes to mind is gestures at those, but I'm unsure on how solid of the statement it is and if that's the true theme that this movie is going for. So, and again, I feel like that's partly just because I'm too new with it, but yeah, don't know where that kind of final thoughts. Is that what you're asking, Adam?
Yeah, I just meant like the portrayal of war here is definitely just more brutal than we see in a lot of movies,
sorry.
especially in the terms of like innocence and
I think it's just more accurate to what it's actually like in real life.
Yeah,
and
that's exactly what I thought watching this. Is like there are just war crimes that are committed that you don't hear about,
right? And that kind of feeling of uncertainty Or like that
Yeah.
feeling of like it, like you said, like you don't know what side of the forces Jesse Plemons' character is on, and like it's
Yeah, you never find
he
out.
could like arguably be on either side, and I think that's like
Yeah.
partially the point. Same with the sniper characters that they come across earlier in the movie. So yeah, I think that is part of it as well, and part of what it's like it's
Yeah.
commenting on is that it's like it is using that abrupt and kind of graphic violence in conjunction with these moments of real uncertainty to put you into a more realistic and high pressure place as an audience.
Yeah, and right, and that's kind of what we echoed on in terms of the photography sense of wow, it's just kind of showing as is, because this film could have easily taken a stance of like political stance in America and like why Democrats are bad, and actually, you know what I mean, like this film doesn't take any of that, right? It doesn't take any of that path to kind of polarize political parties and things of that nature, and I think that's why I can appreciate it even more, because I feel like nine out of 10 times when this film is put on script, right, that's what turns out to be the underlying story of taking a political side with the film and kind of why a certain political agenda, right, or a certain political party is inferior to the other. And I feel like this film doesn't touch on that at all.
Yeah, which is great because again, even before you really don't get a lot of context into how everything popped off in the first place, and so it kind of leaves you in this in between place. You don't really need to take sides. And you really get
Yeah,
to
it's
kind of see
set,
it through
like,
through a different lens.
A solid 30, 40 years in the future, it seems like.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it's not super clear where it takes place in terms of the timeline. It almost, I mean, to be honest, it almost feels like it would be like what would happen if Trump got a third term, like this year, kind of thing. If you want to
This would still only be
line up those timeline.
his second term.
Huh?
He only had one term, didn't he?
I meant like okay, so in his third
So
term,
are
2
we
years from now, if
saying-
he won a third term, this-
got it.
I got you.
sorry.
So
I guess
we're saying
both
that,
right.
So are we saying that, so then if Trump were to be elected for president a third time, we actually would have a civil war? Is that what we're, is that what we're kind of pushing?
yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I mean, I think that would, yeah. If he tries to get a third term, I definitely think that's where things would take a turn. So
I'm all on board for that as long as Jesse Plemons is the person who has to speak to every American and ask them
follow-
what type of American they are. And everyone has to get in a single file line.
Would you want him or fucking Casey Affleck and Oppenheimer? That fucking scary ass dude.
Yeah,
Scary.
right.
Hey, I'd follow Jesse Plemons in the battle.
Or the god of all three, fucking Javier Bardem in No Country for Old Men in the gas station scene.
Yeah, you just gotta flip a coin every
Yeah.
fucking time. Right. Figure out what side you're on.
Call it.
All right, fellas, are we good here? Any other big points we want to touch on?
Just a couple of things from
Yeah.
kind of brought up. My first introduction to Kaylee was Pacific Rim Uprising. She was the kid.
I know I saw her coming. I saw
okay.
her or saw that on her IMDb. She's in Vice and she's in Mayor of Easttown, which I've heard is good.
That's a
And
good
she's
show.
in Priscilla, which is another A24.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
I think
she's
she'll
been
be
in some
around for a
good
while.
stuff. I'm hoping so. I liked her a lot.
She would have
Yeah.
been a good Ellie.
She
Yeah,
would
yeah.
have
True.
hit her. They could make like a spin-off where it's Walmart Pedro
and
and
her.
Target Ellie, and yeah, it'd be fun. I'm looking at her IMDb page. She's actually from Missouri. She's from Springfield. Don't go to Springfield, Missouri. That place is an asshole. But anyway,
Another Missouri fun fact. The gentleman from the Raptors, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Suspended.
Dante Porter.
Yes. He is, I believe I don't think he's an alumni. He's in the NBA. I would imagine he went for 1 or 2 years. But he also went to Missouri. So
Yes, he did.
moral of
Hey,
the story here, it
brother
seems like
of
Missouri's a
Michael
pretty
Porter
shitty
Jr..
state. Is it really? Oh,
Yeah,
man,
they're
that's
brothers.
tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kaylee's character's from Missouri. Gentleman who betted on the NBA is from Missouri. It seems like Missouri is just a pretty shitty all around place. So nonetheless, figured I'd bring some
KC and
Missouri
Columbia are the
context.
only two places worth going Don't go to
There you go.
Springfield. Don't go to St. Louis.
You heard it from our resident Missouri. I don't know, secondary native. Yeah,
resident
right.
Missouri resident. Well, former resident. Yeah, KC is cool. Columbia is cool. Everywhere else is like whatever. So
Cool.
avoid Springfield,
Hilarious.
Missouri at all costs.
And then the last thing was anytime, by the time I got to the end of the story or to the end of the movie, and everything went down with Kirsten, it literally just like I could not get it out of my mind. I literally was just like, you either die the hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And I'm like, that's her whole character arc. So I'm like, all right, that's cool. So
Yeah, no, that's funny. I didn't think about that, but yeah, that's good. Although she didn't die a villain, I wouldn't say.
no, that's what I'm saying. It's just
Yeah.
like
No,
she
I get what you mean.
Yeah,
she
she
stayed in
died the
game too
hero.
long, you know. Yeah.
if she didn't die as the hero, then she
Oh,
would
I
have
see what
been the villain.
I see what you're saying now.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
gotcha. Yeah. Good point. That's funny. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it here for spoilers. We're going to go ahead and welcome back our listeners who skipped over the spoiler segment. And we're going to go ahead and rank the movie up upon our Entropy list, which is our big list of all the movies we have reviewed on the podcast ranked. It's essentially how we rank our movies or rate our movies. Rather do it out of 5 stars, out of 10, out of letters. We could throw up all the movies we review on a list and see how they compare to one
We do
another.
A through Z here, ladies and gentlemen.
A through Z.
American Pickle, solid Z.
Saying something about my letter rankings?
Nothing. If you want to see the entropy list for yourself, you can do so by checking the episode description, where it's linked to my Letterboxd. Civil War is entry 187. Or sorry, 184, episode 187. 184 on the entropy list. Number 1 is still a debated The Shining. Potentially Dune Part 2. We'll see what happens in July. All right, fellas. Oof, this is a tough one. I think we're gonna be pretty split from like how it sounded in non-spoilers.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna be the highest here, I think.
Let's you crack it first. I thought you
Alright.
said we believe you're the highest.
Yeah.
You'll probably give us a cap ceiling. I think I have an idea of where you're at.
I am gonna have to. I want to go higher than this, but it's really hard. I think my hard wall is probably Killers of the Flower Moon. So I'm gonna put it at 21, below Killers, above The Lighthouse.
That's
Like I said, I like it more than Ex Machina. I definitely like it more than Return of the King. Sorry, Ty. I like The Lighthouse, but that's not like doesn't hold any super like emotional place for me. I don't know. I just had a great time with this movie. I think it's the best Alec Garland. It's one of the best. If Dune Part 2 didn't come out this year, I would say this is the best movies experience that I've had in a long time. Dune still I loved this movie. I really enjoyed it.
I hear you.
Yeah, I'm going that high, man. I'm going to 21. So now that my high ass rankings out of the way, y'all can disappoint me.
I'll let it rip. 67.
Okay. Below
Kill
Bill
Bill Volume 2, Above a Night's Tale.
Any
You
thoughts?
guys are really trying to piss Nathaniel off.
I think we should try re-ranking Dune Part 2 after this.
Okay, 1.
Bet.
You guys are still that high on that movie, huh?
I will continue to be. I can't wait to get my Steelbook copy and watch it 4 times.
I literally got yelled at because I wanted to buy it. And she's like, you saw it 3 times in theaters. You have a problem.
No, it's called a hobby.
Yeah, I think I may have to get my copy as well. So
Let's have a watch party where we watch Dune 1 and 2 back to back.
I'm down, but I'm not going to have like a system to watch it on. So,
All right. Well, we'll figure it out.
Nathaniel, you want to? Oh, I'm sorry.
Wait,
go ahead.
any thought process on your ranking, Blake?
Yeah, I guess. Okay, so I'll kind of give you through. So definitely not my favorite Alex Garland. So Ex Machina was the absolute cap, and that's way higher than this in my opinion. So I was just kind of working my way down, right? And then once I started looking at like action drama type of things, like I saw John Wick at 51, Training Day 5, Kill Bill 44. Those were things, even Dunkirk at 42, things I just couldn't really put this over. And then I saw the tier of like, as we always go back to, right? Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, Shang-Chi. I've seen all those films and I was like, okay, I can see that. But then I saw like Deadpool and Kill Bill, and ultimately I was like, okay, if we're lumping those in kind of the action drama, Deadpool's obviously very action. And even A Knight's Tale, I think that's kind of where I originally put it. So I mean, even for context, this is above Bullet Train, which I was pretty high on. I like Bullet Train. Above Top Gun Maverick, which some people would argue is like a great film. I think that's quietly kind of fell in our rankings at it's now 69. So that's
It is
kind of
nice,
my
though.
What was that?
You said it was at 69. I said it is nice though.
Oh yeah. That actually went over my head. So yeah, that's the brief thought process on that one.
Okay. Fair enough. I'm a little disappointed, but I kind of after
Yeah, I didn't expect the
non-spoilers, I kinda figured
2021
this
or
was gonna
whatever it was for you, bro. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's just I sat up from my seat and I was just like, holy shit, what did I just watch? Like I want to go back and see it again almost before it leaves theaters. Nathaniel?
62.
Okay. That's
Fair.
below Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Okay.
Yeah, really, it was
Uh,
Barbie, but I thought Doctor Strange would piss you off more if I put it underneath that. So, Barbie was really my hard cap on that one. Actually, the hard cap was Nightcrawler.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I think this is like one where like, and Boy and the Heron. Like I think this is one that like it kind of goes over, like I said, a little bit of similar themes as Nightcrawler, but maybe doesn't quite get there as successfully. But yeah, I think, and I'm trying to break up the superhero triumvirate there. Obviously, with the four of us, this is going to even out a little differently. But yeah, realistically, if I was voting on this with more of my heart, I would say it would be at 61. But to try and break those guys up, I'm going to put it at 62.
Okay.
Ty? Are you also trying to piss me off intentionally?
No. It's never my intentions to piss any of you off. It might happen sometimes, or it may has happened in the past, and it might happen again in the future, but it's not on purpose.
Right.
So yeah, the Boy and the Heron were definitely that's my hard cap for sure. And then I kind of started looking down. I think I like this better than Shang-Chi and Doctor Strange for sure. Suicide Squad is hard because that movie is actually a ton of fun. Sorry to Bother You, I had a good time with. Boys in the Hood classic, American Psycho classic, Nightcrawler classic. So I think I'll actually put this above Barbie because I think I will rewatch this. Maybe if I'm watching Barbie once a year, if this was on like the TV twice a year, I'm not going to pass it up. You know what I mean? But if Barbie was on twice, I'd be like, all right, I can find something. I just watched this, even though it's been like a year. So it's pretty close, but yeah, I think this just edges out Barbie a little bit.
So you're putting at 60?
Yeah.
All right. That gives us an average rating here of 52.5. Let's decide right now, gentlemen. Are we changing the rules here? Does a 52.5 mean it goes below 52? Because that's what I think we should start doing.
Is that not?
Because before...
You mean it would fight Nope then, but now it's going to fight
No,
Scream?
I mean it goes under Nope.
Now it's just splitting the difference.
Yeah.
What we've been doing for a long time is if it's a 52.5, we would tie break it with Nope.
Right, but instead
What
this
I
would just
think
go.
should happen is it goes below Nope, and when we tie break is when it's at 52 flat.
Yeah,
Sure,
I'm
that's
with you.
fine. Yeah, that's also streamlines it and makes it way easier for all of us too.
Correct.
That
and
does
I
kill
don't
me
know-
internally though, because this
Yeah, I know. Well, it's
this of Scream.
I know,
at
Nope
53
and
is
Scream,
like-
like a little sandwich there. I mean, I actually like this movie a lot. I don't know why I'm complaining. And like, I think
Yeah,
that
but yeah.
I would probably put this above like Iron Claw. Whatever. Let's move on.
So it goes to 53 then, below Nope and above Scream, because it's in between. Yeah.
Yep, works to me.
Alrighty.
All right, cool. Below Nope, above Scream, 53 for Civil War. I'm okay with that. I still think it's fantastic, and I think you should go see it. You should also go see our next review, which is going to be the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, the new Guy Ritchie flick that's coming out with Henry Cavill. Who else is in this movie? I don't even remember.
Alan Richardson, big man, tiny glasses.
Big man, tiny glasses. Okay. Yeah, go check that out this weekend. Join us next week for our review of that. Monkey Man, we don't have anything after Ministry. Do we want to do Monkey Man for the week following, or is it too far out for you guys to give a good review? Because you guys probably saw that 2 weeks ago now.
If it's still in theaters, I'll just go back and watch it. It's free for me.
Right.
I think in 2 weeks there is that Boy Kills World, which looks fun. Or there's Zendaya is a tennis lady and
Oh,
wants to bang,
I like Zendaya's tennis lady. It's supposed to be good.
wants to bang 2 boys.
We'll talk about it after pod, but next week. Don't
That was
stress
wild.
yourself out. Wait, what did you say exactly?
This is Zendaya's E2 Mama Tamien.
Holy
It 100% is.
You know what? You're not wrong, dude. That is exactly what this movie looks like. Okay. Well, on that note, go watch Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. You'll find out what we're watching the week following after you listen to that review. So go check out that movie. Join us next week. Let's get on out of here. Follow the podcast. We're gonna do share the podcast. Share with a friend, a family member, a journalist that you might know. Wish them well on the front lines, but they seem to be doing a lot of driving, and they could just be putting on this podcast. While you're doing that, follow the show on Twitter at Banter Row, on Instagram at Back Row Banter Pod, and on YouTube it's just Back Row Banter. We'll toss it over to Tyler. Where can the people find you at, my man?
Twitter, X, Instagram. What's the other one I do? I feel like we've been gone for so long.
You do a Twitch.
Oh, Letterboxd. No, I haven't been plugging my Twitch lately because I've been a bum.
Okay.
But those are all Tyler Dallas, VID, ALES, Nathaniel.
You can find me watching Shogun or
I want to watch that show. I've heard it's really good.
watching Fallout. I've been watching both those, so
I've been watching a fuck ton of My Hero.
there's that too. And then Twitter and Letterboxd at NS Gingrich. Blake.
Letterboxd, BlakeHolder. I'll be on there, log some things, rate them out of 5 stars. PSN, Xbox, Mr. Water Coolers, Instagram, Mr. Water Coolers. New MK character came back, so I just jumped back on that.
I was going to
They
ask
brought
you
in
about
Ermac.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the classic ninjas they finally brought back, and there was a lot of quality of
Who
life
is it?
updates on MK Ermac. The red ninja, if anybody just knows color palettes of like the OG Mortal Kombats. But a lot of quality of life updates and balance patches. So yeah, they're doing the right things because yeah, MK1 was in a weird state for a while. Turns like it's coming back. So yeah, that's it. And still chugging through God of War Ragnarok. So but that game is hard as fuck. So I'll let you guys know when I get some leeway on that. But yeah, that's it for me. Am I last or?
I gotta go. You
We
can
go
find
to-
me on Twitter at
Okay.
Aish24 and on Letterboxd at Aish. That's gonna do it, folks, for episode 187 Civil War. Thank you all for listening, especially if you made it this far into the episode. You're my favorite type of listener, and we really do appreciate it. Join us for our review of the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare next week. We'll be RB.
America. Ready for another lesson.
speaking of culture, as someone who pays
Oh, God.
attention to culture, Adam, and
That's what men of culture say. As someone who pays attention to culture,
I need
I'm intrigued what this question is going to be.
I need both an Adam and a Blake barometer of normality here, because I need to be caught up on the Kendrick, Drake, J. Cole beef,
For
and
sure.
B, I need to know if it is permeating your guys' timelines as much as it is mine, or if my algorithm is just tuned for Kendrick Lamar, and so I'm just getting served a bunch of stuff about this or not.
Okay.
it's certainly on my timelines. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done some readings on the forums, as they're saying, right? To be brief, though, I'm not the biggest Drake fan anyway, so
Right.
you kind of take that with a grain of salt.
Which, like,
but yeah,
it seems like it has spread to kind of just like everyone being like, yo, fuck Drake. But this is what I'm saying. I need context.
Yeah, and I don't really know the reasoning for that, but yeah, it seems like a lot of artists are probably on the side of just like, this guy's just like, we don't really like this guy, but we can we were able to capitalize off him because he's a huge artist, but no one actually likes him as a person.
Right. And now
that's my kind of takeaway.
Now that public opinion is kind of turning on him, it's like the perfect time to just like take a shot while
Pile on.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, though, he still is Drake and like the biggest, definitely the biggest hip hop artist, one of the biggest artists in general in the world. Like I don't think any of that is going to sway anything ever.
But,
do you know what I mean?
Right. So backing up here, we have like I said, like I almost need a refresher on the whole timeline at this point.
Okay. So yeah, it seems like I think it's been brewing for some years, right? It's kind of what they're saying. I don't really know.
Yeah, because there was
all the backstory on that.
At one point, there was supposed to be a J. Cole and Kendrick album. Like that was always rumored.
Yeah, but that's
at the time.
Yeah, that's probably probably 2014.
Right. This is
something like that.
That's what I'm saying. This is when I was paying attention to hip hop. So
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I don't really know why that didn't come to its head. But then there's always been kind of the small jabs. It always seems like it's for sport in terms of like, oh, like I'm the best rapper, I'm the best rapper, I'm the best rapper.
Right. Until Kendrick kills Big Sean. And like...
Right. Until that song was at 2013 or whatever, where Kendrick has a verse and he kind of name drops everybody. Fast forward to the other week, right? Kendrick is then featured on Future's album. Then he kind of releases some things, and takes some jabs at J. Cole and Drake. J. Cole then responds, right? And Adam, jump in. Let me know anytime if I'm wrong. J. Cole then responds, right, on his project. Was actually a pretty good project in general. Don't really care for the diss song. But pretty big J. Cole fan. But then he went back on his diss song, and I think that's probably where he went wrong, in my opinion.
Right, and it was, which was self-inflicted, right? He just decided to be like, no, I don't. I'm sorry for the diss track. I'm taking it off streaming or something. Yeah,
that's kind of what I've seen, and that just seemed insane to me, bro. Because
that is kind of nuts, dude.
Yeah, like in the sport of hip, like it's all just for sport in terms of who's the best rappers. Like I don't know why you would ever go back from that. It's not like there was any real beef behind that.
Right. There's a certain amount of wrestling kayfabe, like it's all for entertainment kind of thing.
Right.
Like it drives both sales on both artists. Kind of thing.
Right.
And like that's just kind of the fun of it, right?
It's kind of it's just part of hip hop.
Until
kind of thing.
It's like Biggie and Tupac, and then they're shooting each other. But besides that,
right. But I think that was real. Like I actually don't like this guy.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So I think Drake or J. Cole went back on that, and from kind of listening to his music and everything, like knowing everything about him, I'm sure he ultimately did regret making that song because it kind of goes against everything he stands for, like in his music.
He's supposed to be like uniting and kind of like it's all love and that kind of thing.
Right, but talk about a tough break, brother. So nonetheless, he does that. Then Drake finally responds. So now it's kind of just
he did release a track as well too.
Yeah, which. When was that, Adam? What, probably 4 days ago? Something like that? 3-4 days ago?
Yeah, 3-4 days ago.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Drake dropped one calling out Kendrick and Metro Boomin.
Yeah. Who Metro Boomin was in Into the Spider-Verse. If we can backtrack all the way back to when we reviewed that,
Right.
when we
Right, he
reviewed that,
is canon on Back Row. You have Back Row Banter canon with Metro. Yeah.
Boomin. Yeah, that's funny as hell.
I've got all these people saying on my timeline, all these people like making jokes about how Drake ended his diss with Metro go make some drums or some shit.
Yeah.
And it's everyone joking that Metro's now gonna rap on the next diss track that comes out.
No way.
Which I don't think he'll actually do, but I would love it if he did, dude. Could you imagine like it's just all Kendrick and the last verse is just like Metro?
Yeah, that'd be great, but no way he does that to himself.
I think,
but yeah, then Drake kind of responds, has his rebuttal. Then now it's kind of just back and forth. Yeah, ultimately, I don't know. I don't see the outcome of this. I don't see anybody winning. I don't see anybody losing.
Sure.
I think Drake is ultimately like an untouchable artist. Now, granted, though, I don't know how Kendrick actually feels about Drake. Like, I think he was just kind of taking shots for the sports in terms of like, hey, I actually think I'm the best MC.
Right.
Then I think everybody else is probably like, hey, like I actually don't like this motherfucker.
Yeah.
It's like that's what's kind of hard to gauge on. But yeah, I don't.
Right. Yeah. Kendrick just periodically will poke the bear just because that's him. But like, and then it's everyone else after that that's gonna do that. Yeah, like I don't see Kendrick dropping a response or anything like that. I just don't see.
Yeah,
that's what I
has he ever done anything like that? Like has he done? Yeah, I know he's dissed people, and obviously, but like, has he ever dropped just a straight diss track? I don't think he has.
I don't believe so. I think he's like he'll have like verses and certain lines and songs just about that, but I think I keep stressing that's just like the competitiveness of like hip hop,
right?
Of like I'm the best MC, you know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know if he actually responds with the diss track because I don't know what's the incentive. Like there's no, you can't really beat Drake in anything, right? And I'm a huge Pusha T fan, so like I remember when this thing started, like
the story of
5-6 years ago. Yeah, we're like. That whole thing went down, which is like crazy as well. Right. And like, there's also a picture like with that, the cover art with that was Drake in blackface, which is like an insane photo. So like, but the fact that can come out and like he still makes rap music is just like mind blowing to me. So like, yeah, like there's nothing can ever happen. I think they're just gonna go back and forth. But to your point, I don't know if Kendrick replies. I think. Like he hasn't replied. He's not like a social media guy.
No, I think like
like he's
if anything,
he's never gonna make music for the next 6 months.
If anything, he'll have like a goofy verse referencing all of it on like a Baby Keem song or something.
Yeah,
like that.
right. Yeah,
or some off,
right. I agree.
On his next album will be referencing this beef, and that'll be all.
I agree. I don't think he takes the jab, or I don't think he goes to Instagram and starts making captions and tweets about Drake. Those are all big Drake things to do. I don't see Kendrick doing those ever.
Well, what if he did? What if he just like released like the Heart Part 6 or something, or Part 666, and then just like.
Well, the hearts are only his preludes to the albums.
Yeah, it would be cool. It would be cool
if he did release one.
He does it though.
I know, but I
would love it if he did. That would honestly, I think that would escalate the whole situation, because if he doesn't drop a diss track at all for anyone else and just kind of takes slight jabs here and there, and then does so for Drake, like I feel like that would escalate everything a little bit.
I feel I want to see it because I want to see lyrical Kendrick in diss mode like that. I think that would just
I
want to see what happens, kind of thing.
I don't think anyone I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that. I can't even believe Drake wants to be on the receiving end of that.
No.
Like anyone, J. Cole and Drake are kind of nuts for like even starting any kind of beef.
Yeah, Kendrick will make fun of you in like
testing it
on 4 different levels or something, and you won't understand too.
You won't understand all. Right. Yeah, exactly.
You guys are so right, and that's why like I feel like he doesn't do that because like the masses, no one's gonna care about that. Right. Like if that's the song Kendrick makes when he has like all the different like voices and iterations of himself, like people are gonna be like, this fucking sucks. Because that's what people say about his music now. Unless you're like the real Kendrick like hip hop fan. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know, dude. Drake's weird. He's like untouchable. So I don't know.
Illuminati.
He did have that one funny line though in his diss where he was like, "How are you a big stepper wearing size 7 men's?"
Yeah. He does have like some troll moments too, for sure. Like where he's mastered like the internet troll of shit, but he has a massive following, so it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man.
I mean, dude, Drake at this point is almost kind of a meme. Like ever since 2016, like his albums have like 2 or 3 good songs. The rest is just like
I know,
trash.
bro, but they still sell so much.
Oh,
That's
I
why
know.
it's like,
I know.
there's
He's
no
got
way
a
you can
cult
stop him,
following,
bro.
dude. Like,
yeah, there's no
he's like Kanye in that regard. Where like people will just
Absolutely.
listen to whatever he puts out, like no matter what it
he
is.
puts out, for sure.
better
I
or
think
for
you
worse.
would have to come with like, for this to be like a real like beef, I think somebody would have to come with like a nuke of like Drake like messing with like underage women or like something like that to like actually like really change his trajectory.
Right.
Because I think just to be able to like,
After the
from a hip hop perspective, like seeing him in blackface is like mind blowing that he still makes rap music and has a fan base. To me.
and
It's
after
like
after the
insane to me, bro.
you are hiding a child.
Yeah, like I'm a huge Push fan too, though. So like that was amazing. That whole summer was
It was
amazing
a
to me.
surgical summer, as I recall.
Yeah, it was, man. But like, yeah, just like between that, he kind of released all that information. Like I said,
Yuck.
blackface, and he had like a Jim Crow T-shirt on. Like it was like a skit out of Atlanta. If you've
Yeah.
ever watched like an Atlanta
Yeah.
episode, you're like, no way, this is real. And like,
yeah, it was wild. I remember that.
yeah, man. And he still makes rap music. So like, mind blowing. I don't think anything will rap. So he'll just troll on the internet. I don't think Kendrick will probably ever reply until maybe whatever verse he makes in 9 months from now on the first song he's
Right.
featured on.
He'll
You know
have
what
a
I mean?
reference to it. I don't think
Yeah.
he makes a track for it, but
Yeah.
I think the next episode in the saga is his next album or a Baby
Sure.
Keem
Right,
song,
right.
as you guys were saying, where he makes a reference.
Yeah, it's goofy, man.
All right, thank you for the pop culture update, boys. I appreciate it, though.